Howdy folks, and welcome to Brain Rotters. So not only did we get a What If Episode 7 Party Thor episode trailer, but we actually got the official Episode 7 title. Following that, also a clip. So stay with me, I'm going to break it all down for you for tomorrow's episode. Alright, so the title of this week's episode is What If Thor Was an Only Child, entailing what if Thor grew up without Loki. See, the events of this episode begin with Odin finding Loki, but instead of snatching him from Jotunheim from the frost giants, he instead returns Loki to Laufey, Laufey being Loki's real dad. Now this means that everything Thor told us in Ragnarok of Loki stabbing him while pretending to be a snake in all those battles, it all didn't happen, and as a result, Thor is more careless and reckless than when we first introduced to him back in 2011 with his first solo film, which kicks off the events of episode 7 with Thor going to Earth, not because his father banished him and stripped him of everything Thor thought made him worthy. No, Thor instead goes to Nevada like he did in his original film, but he doesn't land where Darcy and Jane Foster are. Thor instead takes the bifrost with the rest of Asgard and the characters from like Sakaar, like Grandmaster, to Las Vegas, and that kicks off our story. Now it seems like in this universe, since there are SKRULLS that come to Earth with Thor, I think Thor uses the bifrost to pick everyone up he can along the way, like picking up the Grandmaster, Korg, the yellow robot woman from Guardians 2, the SKRULLS too. Now I wouldn't be surprised that when he picks up the SKRULLS, that Thor is bound to pick up the Kree too, prompting your bar fight stereotype in these kinds of party plots. And that's something this episode needs to explore too. What's the conflict? What's that evil doer to bring down? Asgard has had a historically long conflict with the frost giants, so we could get a party Thor versus Loki, but now in this universe, Loki looks more like his blue self that we saw in the first Thor movie. Hey, you made it this far, you might as well subscribe if you're new, as well as hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss another video just like this one. And if you are presenting this episode where Thor is an only child, it would be interesting to explore that sibling he never knew he had in his older sister Hela, because we remember it was around when Thor and Loki were born, I believe, is when Odin banished Hela and stopped waging war around the 9 realms. So in this universe, Odin is still holding Hela's existence and banishment from Thor if he has grown up an only child. So here's my thoughts. Odin dies in the episode. We know when Odin dies, he wasn't able to keep Hela captive anymore, and think about it, Hela wants to rule Asgard, and Loki, the frost giant, hates Asgard, so I can totally picture Hela teaming up with Loki to fight Thor for the future of Asgard, and that's how we develop an arrogant Thor to be a less arrogant Thor, and for once he starts thinking about his people. For that, I can see Heimdall, being who Thor refers to as his best friend in Infinity War, being a father figure or mentor for Thor who can be the one to push him in this episode out of his arrogance. Even with Jane Foster being in the episode from the clip, we can see her being the one to put his head on straight for the conflict that is coming. Also, this episode takes place in the same week as the second Iron Man movie too, if we're keeping in place with this being taking place during the first Thor movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Tony Stark cameo in this episode of What If, because Stark is a party animal still at this point. Iron Man 2 even featuring Tony partying for like 20 minutes, so I can see the both of them intersecting in this episode. Also, take notice how Jane and Darcy aren't accompanied by Eric Selvig. I wonder what that's about. Lastly, can we just realize the parallel of Party Thor dancing and Zemo dancing? It's practically the same scene. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it. What are your thoughts on episode 7 of What If? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for the massive support recently. Subscribe if you're new. We got a channel overflowing with this kind of content. Thanks again. Take care.